This is Cora from DFO, and we're giving her a ride out to Kyuquot village, so we stopped and just thought we'd give her a bit of a tour of the farm. So she's agreed to be the nicer looking one in the video. So if we start from here, this is actually, I believe, Latissima, this line, and this is, I'm kind of going backwards in the site, but this is about almost 6 months old now, and these are our kelp lines, and these extend 40 metres. They're already starting, by the looks of them, to get a little bit of chewing going on, Dave. That one's not as good as I'd hoped. I don't know if you can see that, but there's I've got to pull this way up. We've got a cannonball on it to keep the line straight so they don't tangle. Yeah, it's pretty slippery. Come out of the way, you. So it's this is not looking that great at this end. But if you look further out, you can see how the bulk of that weed is. So this is starting to get a few predators on it. Snails, and it's starting to get a little ratty at the end. But you can see down the water column in there, it's quite a bit deeper.
It's getting long.
So the idea of this stuff picks up nitrates. So as the fish pee comes through this way, the water travels through the farm this way, and the final sort of stage of cleaning is kelp. So this stuff will be harvested, and this end of that line doesn't look too good, but out there you can see quite a bit of kelp. So there's 40 of those, and they're 40 metres each. Okay, pause there. Well, that was more heavier than I thought. Nathan never tagged these, just coloured them.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, so yeah. Also down here, these ones here are just individual at different depths. And we've taken some blades off the kelp, tied them on there because last year we got a lot of predation from snails. So now we're trying to work out what time is that and how rapidly they eat the kelp. So these will stay in, whereas the rest of the kelp lines will be harvested in about 3 weeks. Okay, if we come over to this side, this is the C system. This is basically a rolling cage system. This tram will run up and down and use the tram to work the scallops. So these are all scallop droppers here. And on this side we've got a co-culture of urchins and mussels, and it's been done by a research student, Andrea, and her idea is that you can culture the mussels inside those hoops, and for biofouling put urchins around the hoops to keep the nets clean. And it's a study, a trial, but you can see where the urchins are eating. Come over and have a look, Dave. You can see them cleaning it off. Now that one over there doesn't have any urchins, this one here does. And it looks like, these nets are way cleaner than those nets. So it's a pretty interesting little study Andrea came up with. Andrea actually built all of those tubes. They go down 5 metres. Those are 5 metre mussel lines on there. And then Dave and I sort of tied it all in and set it up for her. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting little study. Be interesting to see what comes of it. And then on this side we've got the scallop working area, which is on this tram. This tram moves up and down the system. We'll move up and down the system with the hydraulic wheels. Well, big rubber wheels are run by hydraulics, so we can just walk this up and down the system. So the boys have been working on the scallops this weekend. I see they've got a dropper here I can probably grab.
Yeah.
So right now we're splitting the densities of our scallop lines. scallops are Japanese scallops. They're a hybrid. They're called Pacific scallops here, but they're a hybrid of the Japanese, crossed with the weather vane, I believe, from island scallops down in Courtney there. Parksville. So these guys are about a year and a half old, almost 2 years old. They'll be harvested in probably another 6 months. So the idea of these scallops hang at 5 meters, which is where they like to be, and they eat the small fine particulates of feces and what have you coming off the cages. They're a little more picky than mussels, but they still pick up their share. So they're a very nice creature, very beautiful.
They are beautiful. And they swim too.
Yeah, and they swim. Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, if you don't stitch them up properly in here, they'll swim right out. So far we haven't had any predation by sea otters in these cages, but we see sea otters around here all the time, so that's probably a good sign.
Got a resident that's every day back and forth all
lives
around
in front of the
whole
house.
perimeter, and just uses this as a reef to do his hunting, but hasn't been an issue.
So that's the Pacific scallop. So far, what are we up to for species? Kelp, scallops,
Urchins,
mussels. Drop these guys back in. Okay.
Are you all looking into possible?
Yeah, I imagine in the long term you'd be looking at the co-culture would give you both, right?
Yeah.
Being the idea of the multi-trophic. So these ones, I'm sure she's got them in different densities. I don't know the full details of the trial. It looks to me like this pen here has got quite a bit more density and seems a lot cleaner than some of the others. So it's a pretty neat little study. And see, you've even got urchins actually on the mussel dropper. Right, they've moved on to the mussel dropper and they'll be eating off as well. So it's a really neat little study. The mussels we got from, I believe, Paul Simpson, a mussel farmer from Salt Spring, and the urchins were collected in some part by Dave and me, and in some part by Andrea herself, with the permit from DFO. Thanks very much. Okay, so if we wander over here, we'll go and have a look at the fish, and we'll feed a little bit of the fish. Underneath the fish cages, those poles under there actually is what we use to, we've got cucumbers underneath the cages, and they eat solid feces. So it's a trial at present actually done by Lucy Hanna from DFO down in Nanaimo, and she'd come up here every couple of months and we'd take all of them out, measure them all, weights, and she did all the science on it. And so we had to come up with an idea of how to get that cage up and down and not sort of screw up everything else with the fish cages, which there's quite a bit of hanging in the water. So it's been an interesting little day trying to get that all going, but apparently the growth's been really good on them.
So all the cucumbers are fenced in?
Yeah, they're in oyster trays hanging on a big tray suspended underneath. So it's only a small area. It doesn't cover the whole bottom of the cage. It's really was just to trial, will they survive, without being down in the mud. They're suspended in mid-ocean. Will they grow faster, or as well, will we get predation or death? So it was an interesting study. Lucy's going to release her paper when she's finished it, but all the data's taken now, and you know, between you, me, and the video camera, it looked pretty good. It looked pretty good. It's pretty interesting.